This is Adomako Man, and you are tuning in to the Producing Peace podcast, a podcast that celebrates the vibrant tastemakers shaping NYC's cultural landscape. From artists to activists, we spotlight individuals driving positive change and shaping the future of our city. Meet a multifaceted individual whose creative and professional achievements reflect a deep passion for the arts and leadership. His achievements include performing at the Apollo Theater and gaining recognition on the web series Love at First Night. A true New Yorker, his vibrant energy and authentic voice are as dynamic as the city he calls home. Delving into his diverse and inspiring journey, I'm thrilled to reveal that I'm sitting with the remarkable Christopher Chip Almanzaar.
That was so nice.
Thank you.
Like, if I can have you write a bio about me all the time, that would eat.
I'm gonna send that to you. I mean, for me, it's really important to always celebrate the people who allow me to sit with them and have a conversation.
Yeah.
It was really important for me to have this conversation with you because, like, we've known each other for a very, very, very long time.
Kids.
Yeah. And I, before we got into this, before we arranged this conversation, we said that, like, we're always going to be in each other's lives. Yeah. Like, no matter how far, how close, we're always there.
Yeah.
But before we even, because I never really officially asked this, are you related to Cardi B because of the whole Almanzaar last name?
I am.
Wait, are you really?
No. I tell people that all the time, and because I get that all the time, and I'm like, yeah, I am. Because people already say that I sound like Cardi B, or I talk like her, or I look like her, whatever the case is. Everyone has a different opinion on that. But I tell people, and they're like, wait, for real? And I hold it for a bit. I'm like, yeah.
I did not.
And people really believe me because I guess the similarities, but no. On record, we are not related. But I've gotten that question so many times.
Because it's not like a common...
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I thought that Almanzaar wasn't a common Latino last name, but apparently a lot of Dominicans have that last name.
So I did some research on your last name.
Yeah, it's Arabic origin.
Yeah, it says a Spanish surname derived from an Arabic Almanzar, meaning the lookout point or the watcher tower. Notable people with surname include like Cardi B and a few other people.
The first Almanzar I met was in college.
Okay.
Dominican also.
Were you related?
No. Okay. I mean, she said she was like, I would not be surprised if we are related somewhere down the line. But that was the first time I ever met someone who had the same last name. And I'm like, wait a minute. I thought we were related because I've never, my whole life, met another Almanzaar that wasn't related to me.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Apparently, maybe we are related. Who knows?
I mean, you should do like an Ancestry.com
I want
situation.
to, actually.
Because,
I would love to do that.
Like that, like, I know that there's like specific groups, like there's a Russian community in Dominican Republic. I don't know if you know about that.
No.
Like, so I met this one guy. What was his name? I can't remember his name. It was like a very typical... It's gonna come to me. Yeah. But I remember he had like a very like Russian name, and apparently they were like Russian settlers at one point in Dominican Republic. So,
I don't know that.
Yeah.
One thing I will say, and this is something I would love to do, is actually learn more about my Dominican history, because I grew up here in New York. So, and then, as you know, like, I grew up in the foster care system. So I wasn't always with Dominican families, but I am adopted by a Dominican family now. So, not that that's an excuse, but that's one thing I do wish, and I would like to learn more about the history of Dominican Republic.
Well, I guess we're gonna like bring it back a few. Because for some reason, I always thought that you were Dominican and you were adopted by Puerto Rican family.
No.
So you were like, you're Dominican and then you were adopted by a Dominican family as well.
Yeah.
So I guess that brings me to like the first question I have for you is like, where are your origins? If you want to touch more on like your origins of being Dominican and what part of New York you're from.
Yeah. So I'm from Spanish Harlem. Well, actually, that's not true. I say I rep Spanish Harlem because that's most of my upbringing. But I was born in Washington Heights.
Oh.
Yeah, I was born in Washington Heights, and then I've just traveled back and forth between the two neighborhoods as a child and adolescent and an adult. But My family is from Dominican Republic. My biological family, they are Dominican immigrants, and but my immediate family, biologically, that's my mom and like my aunt. They've been in New York for many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
But my adoptive family is from Spanish Harlem.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh.
they're Dominican, and that's why most of my upbringing was in Spanish Harlem, because I spent most of my life with that family, and then until I was adopted in November of 2002.
Oh.
Yeah.
So when I first met you, you was living in Washington Heights?
No, Spanish Harlem, because it was I went to Spanish Harlem in 95, but I think it was like 95, 94.
Okay.
And before that, I was in like 2 other foster homes. I can barely remember, but I think it was like Jersey,
Okay.
or it was up somewhere else, but it wasn't in Manhattan.
Okay.
Yeah, I moved to Spanish Harlem in 95.
I met you when I was 6 years old. I don't remember. Do you
What's
remember?
the age difference?
You're 3 years older than me.
Okay, yeah.
And I remember. Do you remember like how we met? Because
Was it in the boys' club?
So we met at the boys' club.
Because I don't think we met through school. We met through
Yeah.
the boys' club first.
And I just remember you've been the same your whole life.
That's a...
Like, and I say this because I feel like there's like this airy sophistication about you that comes about. And like, I just remember, because you went to like a school where you wore uniforms.
Yes.
You had like the
PS 102.
Yeah, and you had like the burgundy vests. And so I always
Yeah.
have that stuck in my head of you from when we were
Yeah.
kids.
Uh-huh.
And I just remember the first memory I have of you is we were hanging out. We were hanging out, like two memories. One of them is, the second one is more fuzzier, but the first one is we were hanging out on the 5th floor, on the junior floor. And we were standing by the window. And I just remember we were just like talking, and you had your uniform, and it felt, this is going to sound crazy, but it felt like you was like, I feel like like there's always going to be something about you that's like going to be educational. Like, because when I look back,
I'm honored by that.
Yeah, because like I feel, I mean, another thing, there's like, I have like so many memories of you, but so like there's that. Then like, you know, I used to hang out in the library route a lot. I don't know if you remember Tashina.
Yeah, that name sounds so familiar.
She was like one of the librarians.
Okay.
And so she wore glasses.
Sounds very
She
familiar.
was like a curvy woman there.
Yes, light skin.
Yes, light-skinned black girl.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, and so I remember like seeing you in the library all the time. And
And
so,
we started playing man collar and
oh
stuff.
my God. What was your experience like growing up and going to the boys' club?
It was interesting. You know, I have the memory of a goldfish. So like my memory is, but I also know this about myself. I dissociate a lot.
Okay.
Especially a lot of my childhood. Like it's just, I make space, I guess. That's what I'm doing. But at the boys' club, I do remember us meeting, and we instantly connected. Like it was right there. There was just like a spark, and it was like, oh my God, we're gonna be friends forever. And then also, even though I wasn't out as like a child or anything, I was bullied for being gay.
What?
Yeah, it's so weird because I was popular but like bullied at the same time. In the boys' club, it wasn't as bad as school. In the boys' club, I was definitely accepted a little more. But yeah, meeting you, I was just like, oh my God, I feel like we're the same.
So that's so interesting, because that's my experience. But you know, because the boys' club, just so people know, is like this organization in Spanish Harlem where people bring their kids to get like a lot of different types of education, you know, photography.
It's like recreational but educational as well, and it's only for boys.
Right. And so the thing was,
and it's from I think it was like age 6 to until you like graduate high school.
Yeah, like 17, 18.
Yeah. And then after that, you could like work there, which is what a lot of people do.
I didn't know that.
They ended up, I was working there as a tutor. Me as a tutor, I was just like, what the fuck am I doing as a tutor?
I mean, I just said that you give like education.
I know, but I give in different ways, not in that way, not like math, science, history, but I guess more in a life experience, spiritual way.
No, because you know what? I remember the first word, and I think I might have mentioned this to you before. The first time I ever heard this word, it was through your mouth, and I was like, "What does that word mean?" And you was like, "Oh," and this is like no shade or anything like that. You was like, "Oh, I procrastinate a lot," and I'm like, "What the fuck does that mean?" And it's just like growing up, you know, as like we kept entering each other's worlds. Yeah. I would always hear you use these big words, and I'm just so like, what does that mean? So I just always remember you having like this extensive vocabulary, but to hear that you say that people bullied you, from where I stood, I felt like I was the one who was always bullied, and you were always the cool one. So that's so interesting.
Yeah, right. But it kind of was that a little bit. Like, I was popular but teased at the same time, and I'd never really understood it because I'm just like, bitch, where the fuck do I lie then? Like, are you bitches being fake? Like, what's happening? Like, where do I? And there has been, well, like in elementary school, one time there was a moment where I was trying to fit in because the popular kids were on, like, they did embrace me, and then they were teasing somebody, and I like went in and was like teasing the person on that, the girl. And I was just like, what the fuck am I doing? No, this is not like me. I'm usually the opposite. I'm usually the one standing up. But I guess because I was very vocal, I wasn't someone who took shit. I actually stood on my shit. Like, if I'm going to defend myself, I defend myself a lot. So I think that's what made me cool, is because people realize, like, oh no, this bitch is going to fight back. Like, and they realize, like, wow, he actually is really cool, but he's a faggot. And you know, and then it's just like, teasing me about being my femininity, because I didn't even know anything as a kid. Yeah, I was like, I don't know what I liked. I was just very feminine. Yeah,
I remember.
I dated girls all like growing up, so it was really funny. But I think that's what it was. People were just confused by me because they're like, I like him. I think he's actually really cool, but he's a faggot. I have to tease him because he's gay. Like,
that's the thing. And I mean, I sound like a broken record, but like. And maybe this is, you always like talk to me in privacy about like, oh, I feel this way. I'm like, what?
It's interesting.
Like, because like,
appear that way.
It feels like you always have this energy of confidence. And like, it's just, I don't know. Like, so when you say like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm like you're like, I mean, you've been on like web series, you've been in the Apollo, you've done like, you know, you're creating books, which we'll talk about, like your artwork. But like, I don't know, like, it's weird because like, I think you kind of, and this is not to like place judgment, or I feel like sometimes you might be in your own self. Like, you might be like, you might be in your own way. Because you have always felt so cool. And I'm not just saying that because we're sitting here, but it's just like growing up.
This is real love. This is genuine love. Like, since we were kids, and we just come in and out of our lives constantly, and it's always the same.
And it's just like, I just always, I don't know why, I just remember you having like your neck and just like poised and like, I don't know, but then what was your, like, besides school, besides the teasing, then what was your experience like growing up in Spanish Harlem?
It was, I mean, I loved it. I thought that Spanish Harlem was the shit, like, growing up. And even the boys club, I despite the negative things that I remember, it was an amazing experience. You know, one thing I will say, and I say this all the time, is that despite the circumstances in my life and the negativity, I always had a lot of love. And I think as a child, that's what I was focusing more on. It was just the love, and when you're in survival mode, you're not thinking of like, oh my God, I have to, like, you're just like, I just have to have faith. I have to just keep pushing, moving, going forward, and just trying and trying. So I feel like that's why I've always attracted a lot of love and amazing supporters in my life. People who really believe in me and support me, sometimes more than I believe in myself. Like, my tribe pushes me more than that should be coming from me, you know? But it was amazing growing up in the boys club and having like Gary. Do you remember Gary?
Oh yes. Oh my God. Do you know Chris Cruz?
Yes. Yeah.
Chris Cruz was telling me.
That's his nephew.
Yeah. And so that's like, he always tells me about Gary. I'm like, oh my God, he's like a staple at the boys club.
Yes, he is, and he was like a father figure to many, like many of us boys growing up. But it was great, and in Spanish Harlem, like, It was fun back then. Like, I mean, even though I used to fight all the time. Like,
What, you was a fighter?
Oh my God, I used to fight all the time because people used to try to bully me, and I'm like, fuck out of here. Like,
Oh wow! I never see.
you know, try me. It's funny because people look at me now and they would never believe, and they're like, wow, and I'm like, no. If you try me, like, I've done a lot of healing. Wow, I've done a lot of healing, but I feel like Spanish Harlem was so cool. It was fun, at least as a kid. As an adult, it's kind of like, ooh,
yeah,
this is what I really like. This was my upbringing.
Well,
like,
I think it's changed a lot.
Changed a lot. I agree.
Like, would you say, like, what would you say is the difference between like Spanish Harlem and like Central Harlem, like West Harlem?
I feel like West Harlem is a lot livelier.
Really?
Yeah. I feel like it's a lot.
Now, back then, do you think it was like that too?
No. I feel like now. Right. I feel like Spanish Harlem was the spot. Like, there was always because the festivals always happen on the east side, like right there on Fifth Avenue. But it's like all the partying and stuff would happen on the east side. But yeah, I would say it's the opposite now.
Right.
Growing up, it was lively. It was fun. West Harlem, I just went to West Harlem as a kid to shop because Old Navy was over there. Remember, like, Cookies, Rainbows, or something? Or was it Conway?
It was Price Mart.
Yeah, to get our uniforms and shit.
Yes, that's so crazy. But that's the thing, though. Like, I felt like Spanish Harlem, I remember growing up, I used to always hear like how like the west side of Harlem was like more dangerous and like there was
that's true. Yeah,
and then it changed and like Spanish Harlem, like
I think it's the opposite.
Yeah,
there was a lot of gang violence and shit in Spanish Harlem. Like when I was, I feel like when we were teenagers, that's when we started to really see. I guess because as a child you're protected or like you're restricted from certain things or you don't see things a certain way until you're older and you're like, oh shit, this is actually like a dangerous neighborhood. Or like, I didn't see it that way.
Where did you hang out?
Where did I hang out? Well, my mom was really strict growing up, so I didn't like go out much, but I would just always be right there, like in the park, right on 115, Jefferson Park, all the time because it was right across the street. That's about it. It was always the area. And most of my friends lived like walking distance from me. So I was always just in the area. I didn't really hang out far. I couldn't.
You know, this is so random. And I lived in Spanish Harlem all the way till I was 8. You lived in Spanish Harlem for a number of years.
Yeah, from like 4 or 5 years old till I moved out. When I went away to college to New Paltz. 2007. I came back that first winter break, I think is what we get. Yeah, winter break was the first break. And things just weren't really like aligning with me and my mom. And I just, because of the freedom that I had, I just felt like I was being like, I wanted freedom. And it's like, come on, like I'm an adult now, like I'm 18 and like, hello, like give me a bit more freedom. So I ended up moving out and lived with my biological mom, actually. Yeah, in Washington Heights. So that's why I've lived back and forth in those neighborhoods.
I didn't know that part.
Yeah, I was in Spanish Harlem from like 95 all the way up to like 2007.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 2007, 2008.
But because this is a random question, because you lived in Spanish Harlem for so long, did you ever see like Dave East in Spanish Harlem?
No, I don't remember. But again, I don't really remember a lot of people back then. There's people that see me now when I was living in Spanish Harlem recently, and they're like, "Oh my God, Peaches," because that was my nickname growing up.
Wait, what? You were not named? Okay, people would always talk about Peaches. There was like a few people named Peaches, and they would always mention this one person named Peaches. Maybe it was you.
Yeah, that was a nickname I got because I was very feminine. So they called me. I think it was because of like Princess Peach from like Mario, I think, just like act like a princess.
Oh my God.
So they'll be like, oh my God, Peaches. And I'm just like, oh, I'm so sorry, I don't remember you. Or they'll just be like, Chris, it's me. And I'm like, oh again? But I never remember seeing Dave East.
Because I mean,
is he from the East? Like East Harlem? Was he like?
That's why his name is Dave East. And this is like no shade or anything like that. But like, I don't think he was like a Spanish Harlem person because I was up and through Spanish Harlem.
I remember seeing Black Rob. I don't know if you remember Black Rob. What were some of those other artists? They were from Spanish Harlem, but they were older. They were like grown men already.
And then we also went to school with Charles. his Instagram name is billionaire something, and like
Yes.
it's like the
Yeah, he's so funny. He's
yeah.
friends with my sister and like their circle.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I've like hung out with him. He's a key.
Mm-hmm.
He is a key. But I don't think I didn't grow because I think I'm a little older than he is.
Like a year.
Is
Because I
it?
think he was a year. I think he was either my year or because we also went to high school together.
Okay, yeah.
All of us went to high school together. It was me.
I don't remember Charles as much. I don't think I hung out.
Oh, I
around
remember
him as
Charles.
much. Yeah.
I remember.
But we've hung out like within the past few years because my sisters.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
What was it like going to AES then? Like, what was that experience like for you?
Bitch. AES was it was a mess, but it was a good time. That's when I feel like the teasing and the bullying kind of stopped, was like in high school. It was junior high school and high school where kind of like that transitional period in my life, and I was like, okay, people are not teasing me as much. But AES was cool. It was just so ghetto. It was like it was such a ghetto ass school. Like, but I was just so corny and tacky. I just wanted.
I don't remember. You know, it's crazy. I have a photo of you, and I think that's why it's part of my memory. You have like this green pastel shirt.
Trying it.
You was not trying. You was doing it. I mean, okay. I think. Are you talking about when you had the pop the car?
Yeah. Mind you, it's so funny because I do that now with some things, and my partner hates it. They're like, ew, like put your collar down. It's like, listen. It's a vibe. Certain things with a denim jacket, it depends. Because sometimes it looks pretentious or like yachty. Like it's just like, bitch, where you going on a boat or something? But it gives. It gives with a certain. But it depends on the piece of clothing and the look. But I used to do that all the time.
I remember that part of you. I also remember all the fine ass niggas that were in that school. It was like hood.
Yes, and it's crazy. I mean, I don't want to say no names. But I've come across. Yeah, I'll definitely tell you because I feel like you remember them. But because I just feel like it's embarrassing to say that. I can say the names now, but there were a few that were very cute, and like I've come across some of them actually, like as an adult. And I'm like, because sometimes they look the complete opposite, or they look even better, and I'm just like, shit, my God, you look amazing. You still look good. But majority of the time, it's the opposite.
There was one guy that I thought you was like dating while we were in school, and I was like, are they in a relationship? And I just never asked.
Was he out?
I don't know.
Because they were, I think Hector is another person. I think he went to AES. He's Rihanna's makeup artist.
I think I might have remember Hector.
Dominican. Like there was some people actually that are doing it big that you know, came out of AES that we went to school with. I think it's Hector Espinoza.
So I thought that you was dating this guy named Oscar.
Oscar, I don't remember Oscar.
I have to show you him.
Latino?
Yeah.
With like very suave, like black hair.
I think so.
No, that was my friend's boyfriend actually.
Oh my God.
He was very straight.
Yeah, I remember that. I just remembered like I was like, oh my God, are they like?
No, he was my friend. Her name is Bianca. They were dating.
I don't know if I remember Bianca.
Bianca Bruno. Wow, we really like name dropping.
Well, listen, I don't.
Yeah,
I mean, listen, I'm totally into like sharing the experience.
I agree.
I don't really care about like but it was just I remember those days like going through those hallways like. And it was just like it was like the era of like mermaids. And
yes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And one thing I will say, bitch, you always a fashionista. You were always.
Thank you.
But like that's exactly how I feel too. I'm like, oh my God, I was so like, what? It was a little
that time was
cringe moments. But you were always standing out.
Oh my
always
God,
such a star. Yes. I mean, and that's what I admire so much about you. You're very admirable, and you were always unique, standing in your confidence, your power, your individuality and uniqueness. Like, and that's very admirable because as a kid, you kind of, as we grow older, you lose that confidence because we're bullied, we're teased for it. But bitch, not you. Not you.
Well, I think like I'm living. Like I'm living life. Yeah. And so it's just, I don't know, during that time, I
I feel like I'm always on a mission towards something, and like nothing's gonna get in that mission. But I remember like you were just definitely like a strong figure because I remember like going, just because like I was when I first started school there, and I was like, Chris goes here, like it was so interesting. And then we got to do that program where we got to go on the Apollo. Do you ever think about that?
I do randomly, and I'm like, bitch, I already did a whole monologue. On my own, and I remember the guy. It was that program. His name is Chris. I think his name was Chris also, some white guy.
He was in a soap opera.
Yeah, and he was a little intimidating, but he was also very handsome. I just remember being like, oh my God, this guy's kind of handsome. But he was like really pushing me, and I was scared as shit. And then the monologue was inspired. So cringe. Lindsay Lohan's Confessions of a...
I think I remember.
What was it? Confessions of
a drama queen, or is it
the song where she was daughter and father? Yes. I was obsessed. This is when I was obsessed with Lindsay Lohan. Yes.
Yeah.
And the song the monologue was inspired by that song, because I was like, wow, I feel her emotions, and I'm like, I remember this. Yes, and I was just like, I want to write something dark because I don't know my dad at all. So the monologue was about my dad. If I had a dad, and I made him an alcoholic, and like how he was and it's funny because I don't know my dad at all, so I just literally created him in my head, and I was like, he's gonna be an alcoholic, and we're gonna have issues, and this is why our relationship doesn't work. And I was just playing that song like over and over and over again to like inspire the monologue.
Did I tell you that like I like halfway met her before?
No.
It's the most.
Oh my God.
So hilarious and dumb because so I remember, this is so stupid, oh my God, I remember I'm laughing because you're getting this silly. I remember I thought if I could be friends with Lindsay Lohan that I can get her sober. And so, because this was during a time where like I was going to Fashion Week a lot.
Yes.
And I remember, I
felt bad for her during that time as a fan. I was just, oh my God, no, you can do this.
Like, you're so beautiful.
You're so talented.
Like, just like win. Like, we need you to win. And I feel this is so. And so I remember I was going to Fashion Week, like I was shooting a runway show.
I remember that.
And one of my close girlfriends is really obsessed with her. And so because she was so obsessed with her, I became even more obsessed with her than what I was before.
Yeah.
And so, you know, this is during the era when like Lindsay Lohan was a lesbian. I don't know if you remember that. So she was dating like Samantha Ronson.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, I do remember her dating someone.
And so I remember I saw Samantha Ronson at a fashion show.
Okay.
Because her sister Charlotte Ronson was doing a show.
Lindsay she's all over the place.
She was. So listen, so I walk up to Samantha and I'm like, oh my God, you're Samantha Ronson, hi. And she's like, hi. And I'm with my friend, a Russian girl, like, you know, she's like a United Nations baby girl. And I remember like, I was determined. I was like, I need to become friends with Lindsay. And it wasn't like a Delulu thing. It was like, I knew people who were friends with her. And so I was like, I need to become friends with her.
Yeah.
And so I'm talking to Samantha. I'm like, oh, is Lindsay gonna be here? And then she's like, I don't know. And then I was like, well, if you see her, tell her I'm looking for her.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And she looked at me so afraid. Right. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I just said that. And then I remember she walks down the runway and I see her and I'm like, Lindsay!
Oh my God.
And I was like sitting 4 seats behind her.
That's close.
And she didn't turn around. She had like the Eiffel Tower earrings. I was like, Lindsay! I was like, she needs to become my friend.
Yes, that is so funny. You were on a mission.
I was on a mission. So, but that's so interesting that like she resonated with you. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's where the whole monologue like came from. It was that song.
What did you feel like? Sorry,
because I didn't know what to write about. Like I remember we all had to do something, and I was like, I'm gonna do a monologue. But I don't know of what. So that was inspired. When that song came out, I was like, oh, this is perfect. And because when I was a kid, like acting and writing always came naturally to me. So I've been writing poetry since I was a kid. So I was like always writing dark shit. Like it's so funny because people see me so light, but I was writing a lot of depressing ass shit as a kid. A lot of my poems were just dark. And so I was like, this is perfect because I don't normally, I don't allow myself, as an adult, I realized that I didn't allow myself to feel those things. So it was the perfect opportunity. I was like, this is a great moment for me to like let that darkness come out and like be a little depressing and sad and intense.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, it's so interesting, like what like we have thoughts about people because like that's not how I see it. And like I feel like during the time when we were in high school, that was like during the time of like Degrassi.
Yes.
He was gay, and so like everything was dramatic.
Yes.
And so I feel like maybe, do you think that might have had like any type of influence, or just like I'm just gonna like go dark? Like,
no, because I didn't really watch Degrassi until much later. I couldn't watch a lot of these things because I wasn't like, my mom wouldn't allow me. You know, I wasn't out. Excuse me, I wasn't out. So I couldn't watch like Noah's Ark, and it's funny because my sisters would come across and be like, "Ooh, this show looks fun," but I didn't want to show interest because I was just like, I'm not gay, like, you know. So I didn't really get into Degrassi till like later, but I loved it.
Did you ever get into Noah's Ark too then? Or?
I did, but not as deep as like most people do. But I definitely got into it
because that came out when we were in high school. To like 2000.
Yeah, I couldn't really watch. I was in the closet, and I was also dating. I had a girlfriend during high school.
I remember those days.
I'm just like, what the fuck am I like? Looking back, I was like, what was I doing?
I mean, it was.
I was trying to survive.
Yeah, survival. But then, like, so when you were doing the performance at the Apollo, do you remember those feelings?
I just remember because I feel like sometimes I black out a little bit and like my emotions are really taking over. But I just remember I was so fucking nervous. I was so nervous, and because I remember the Apollo to be an intense play that people boo you. So I was just like, oh my god, imagine like I get booed, but like apparently I had like a standing ovation or some shit. Like people were really clapping up for me. I was so nervous, but at that time I was just like, this is what I want to do.
Was that the moment when you realized you wanted?
Yeah, because I always pictured myself, I guess from because I had a lot of emotions as a kid. So like writing, dancing, acting were my ways of releasing that, like through those mediums. It was my way of releasing my feelings. A lot of the things that I was just going through mentally and emotionally as, you know, growing up, confused with like, you know, I'm not supposed to be feminine, and then growing up in the foster care system, like not feeling like I have a family and shit. So I had a lot of feelings, and it was doing those things where I felt like I was able to let them go. But it was at that moment. So I never really tried acting until after that. Well, I think it was right before that. I remember going to an audition at John Robert Powers.
Oh my god, that place. Scam Central.
Yes. And the thing is that I didn't really, like, my mom didn't know better. So, like, I didn't really have the support system within my home to, like, help me and kind of cultivate that desire. So I only got in after school programs and schools. People were like, yeah, let's do this acting program. So I always wanted to go to auditions, but I can't go alone because I was underage. So my mom was just like, no, we're not going to that. So I feel like a lot of it was just kind of like, fuck, I'm going to have to figure this out when I'm able to. So I didn't really do much, but it was at that moment in high school, that experience, that I was just like, no, this is really what I want to do. Like, I want to be an actor.
Wow. Yeah. Wow, that's...
Yeah, I really solidified it for me.
I'm like, oh my god, wow, that means that I was seeing you in motion. I mean, years, but that's incredible.
We've been seeing each other in motion, and it's like, it's a beautiful thing to have, to experience, to witness.
So, I mean, like, but then that was such a different time than now.
Very different.
Like, because that was high school, now we're like adults, like, where do you feel like New York City is now versus then? Because, you know, we've seen each other, and I think it's so, I feel like our experience is unique because, like, a lot of the people that we know now are not from here. Yeah. So it's like we've seen the thick of it over there.
Yeah, they're not from here, or they just moved. Like, we really have been it's like stamped.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever lived outside of New York besides New York?
I have. I lived in upstate New York because of school, and then I lived in Orlando for 7 months doing the Disney College program.
Oh,
are you familiar with that?
Mm-hmm.
So it's an internship working at Disney World. You can do Disney World or Disneyland. Disneyland is California, and Disney World is Orlando, Florida. So I lived in Florida for 7 months right after college. Like I was like, I don't know what to do, and it was actually presented to me, and I didn't know anything about it. And apparently, it's a very competitive like internship. I was just like, I'm gonna just do this for shits and giggles, whatever. And I feel like sometimes having that attitude is necessary, because if I had known what the program was, I probably wouldn't. But I would have been intimidated or too scared, or like really living in Florida. But I was excited because I had never been outside of New York by myself as an adult, and I was like yearning for a change, something drastic. And I was like traveling alone, and living on my own outside of New York is perfect. Like, so I was like, whatever, I'm gonna just do this, and if I get it, I get it, I don't. And then I got selected, so I did merchandising in Disney World. It was mostly working at the gift shops, and then I started working at an art gallery in downtown Disney, which is more of my speed because I didn't really want to be around the kids. I was just like, but it was an amazing experience, and living in Florida was very interesting. I feel like I was standing out like a sore thumb, like because everyone, especially in the program, is people from all over the world. The moment I opened my mouth, are you from New York? Oh my God. And just my style alone, everyone just instantly knew. And oh my God, the question, because everyone loves New York.
Yeah.
So it's just like, wow, how is it being from New York and like growing up there? Like, and then when I tell people I live in Manhattan, they think that that's rich. And I'm like, bitch, no. Like, because I'm not going to say Spanish Harlem because they don't know what the hell they know Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens. So I was like, I'm from Manhattan. And they're like, oh my God, so you like probably have money, like you're rich? And I was like,
people would say that to you?
Yes.
Wow.
Because people thought, they just assumed that like Manhattan is like the place to be. Because that's like what most people know when they think of New York, especially people like foreigners. Because Times Square, a lot of the main attraction things are in Manhattan.
Like the TikTok.
Yeah, exactly. So it was really interesting, but also the style too. Like everyone there was very Aldo's. No offense. No offense to any peeps.
I like, used to do Aldo just because Aldo and Odo. That's the only reason why I did it for a time.
Of course. But it was so. I just felt like I can't. Because like a lot of the jobs were working at the malls, doing retail. Everything was retail or makeup, working at like MAC and Sephora. And I was just like, I am not one of these gay men. Like, I do not want to do makeup, and I don't want to do retail. Like, give me a coffee shop. Give me a bakery. Give me like food and beverage maybe, but everyone was just very Steve Madden and Aldo's and Suave and like the pointy shoes, and I was just like, oh my God, no, I can't live here anymore. And then I felt like it was just too easy at one point. Because I wasn't gonna come back. I actually extended my program. It was only for 4 months, I think, and then I extended it to 7 because I was like, I'm not ready to leave yet, and I was second guessing not going back. Like I was like, I think I should just, because I didn't have anything except my friends and family, you know. So I was like, I don't have anything tying me back down in New York. So I almost didn't come back and was just gonna start my life over in Florida. But then I was like, no. I feel like I'm being brainwashed. It's way too slow, way too chill. And I refused to be working in Aldo's.
Did you have
like I was like, I refused to work in Aldo's, and like, because I didn't really care for retail jobs. Like I was actually like, I can't do retail. I've never really done retail until like my adult life. But yeah, I was like, I refuse. And my connection and everything was in New York. I was like, if I am gonna build myself up, I feel like New York is a place because of my resources.
Wait, so did you ever have a license there where you were there then, or you were just like?
No, girl.
Do you have a license?
I know. I don't know how to drive, and that's the other thing too. I was just like, damn, I really need to learn how to drive. I need to get a license and everything, a car. But the program offered a lot of like taxis and stuff and buses. So like, I didn't really need to. And I made friends that had cars. like I feel like the universe really, my entire life has blessed me with things that I don't have in other people. I don't really know how to cook, so like I've always been with a partner that knows how to cook, or friends that know how to cook. All my friends know how to cook. I'm the only one that doesn't cook. So when we have gatherings, I'm the one that brings the alcohol and the vibes. And a car. Most of my partners have had cars, or like friends have had cars. I got really lucky.
Well, so that's the same with me too. I don't cook.
Yeah.
Someday. But wait, why don't you cook? I feel like you're like a cooking type to a degree. I feel like
it was interesting because Dominicans, so people assume
you're like all peaceful and like I'm gonna cook and it's gonna be like this whole like experience.
I love that in my head. I can see that in my head because I like to get my hands dirty. Something me and my partner just realized because they cook is that I like the prepping part of it and hate everything after. Hate everying else.
Yeah, because it's like hot.
Yeah, you gotta wait, and then like you're on top of the stove. Yes. Like no, it's too much. Like I'll help prep because I like to get my hands dirty and like touching the food and stuff and like seasoning it. And then I'm like, okay, I'm over this, but I'm more of a cleaner. So like that was I always told my friends, like I'm not someone that's just like, oh yeah, you cook, you clean. If my friends were gonna cook, I would clean the kitchen after. Like that was always the deal. Like you cook, I'll clean. So and I didn't mind that because I enjoy cleaning. So
then with all of this, you know, not knowing how to drive, you know, not knowing how to cook, you know, deciding to come back to New York.
And mind you, I was living in Orlando with a chef.
Oh wow!
Yeah, one of our roommates was practically a chef. He's Puerto Rican, Roberto. His name is.
Shout out to Roberto.
Yes, he literally was like our chef because he knew how to cook.
I love that.
Yeah.
But then, like after all of that, though, you came back to New York,
and I moved back to Washington Heights.
Oh.
Yeah, I was with my biological mom and aunt.
And what was that like? Like connecting with them, or have you always been connected?
I was connected because. Remember, I left in 2007. So all throughout college, I was living in Washington Heights when I came back for breaks. So I was there. It was interesting because I connected, because I lost contact with my mom when I got adopted. Because we, you know, it's not up to the government to like make you have visitation rights. It's up to you. So we lost contact for a couple years after getting adopted. And then I reconnected with her through my cousin through Facebook. On MySpace, like I think it was, we became friends, and then one day I just asked, like, "Do you know anything about where my mom's whereabouts?" And he's like, "Yeah, we know, like she lives here." So
that's wild.
And then I went to visit one day, and I explained to her, I was just like, "Yeah, I want to move out," and she was like, "Come here."
Wow. Yeah. And so you're connected with both your adopted family and your maternal family. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's what helps infuse your community.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I came back to Washington Heights, but it was amazing because my friends missed me. I remember coming back. I think literally the next day, me and my friends went to Blackheads. Remember Blackheads?
Is that still a thing?
No. Oh, wow. I don't buy. It was Blackheads and Mother Burger. They were right. It's like what's
Hell's Kitchen?
Like, yeah, it's like
I know you're talking about. Yeah,
and then around that area is like therapy industry, like
oh my
bars.
God.
It's like near Theater Row, I think.
No, I know what you're talking about.
Excuse me.
Exactly what you're talking about.
So we met up there and just got lit the fuck up, and I think we went to like G Lounge after.
Oh my God.
It was
that place.
Remember G Lounge?
Yes, I mean like
it was one of my favorite places.
That place is interesting for sure. Like G Lounge and going there.
I loved it.
It was fun.
Because I like a mix of a little bit of everything. Because I like hip hop, I like pop, I like R&B. So like it was the one place that really played a little bit of all those, like the music. And even the crowd was really diverse. It was mostly predominantly black, which is we love.
Yeah, especially most of those.
Yeah, because a lot of those places was predominantly white. So it's like, where's my black sisters and the men and the bitch queens?
It was
really mixed. It was perfect. I thought it was the perfect place. It was so cool. It was definitely one of my go-to places. Everything in one spot.
And now it's like Rebar, which is
yeah. I'll keep my comments to myself. I've been a couple times, but it is very different.
It's very different.
A very different crowd that it draws.
Well, I mean, they've been noted for being racist.
Yeah, which is so interesting because I mean, me personally, I've never experienced that there. So I was actually shocked when and because it was a predominantly black spot,
and then changing it up.
Yeah, I was shocked. I was really shocked.
But then, I mean, to switch gears, you know, I'm really curious to like how Love at First Night came about and how that was presented to you.
Yeah,
because I mean, I'm sure that was during that time that things were like at a crazy high.
Yes,
I'm sure they're always high, but
yeah.
Before we continue with our conversation, here's a clip from the film Peace.
You ride. Always into the day I die.
So Love at First Night, which shout out to everyone involved with Love at First Night, because even to this day we show each other love and everything like that. Out of all of the acting projects I've done, and just like any collaborative project, that was one of the most amazing and beautiful to be a part of because of how we just meshed so well. And none of us, well, like obviously Terry and Sean knew a lot of us, but I didn't know, like the only person I knew was Rich, because he's from Harlem, and I've seen him around, and then, you know, his meme on the train station. Yeah, so Rich was the only one that I was familiar with because I have a friend who I think they're cousins.
Jerome?
Yeah, I met Jerome too.
Yeah.
No, they're friends. They were like cousins or family friends or something. One of my friends and Rich. So, and I remember when Jerome had the store in Harlem?
Yes. No, it was in the Bronx.
It was in the Bronx? Okay, so yeah. But I've been a couple times because we shot there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we used the store in one of the scenes.
Oh, I did not know.
I can't remember. It was me, Rich. Yeah, it was a scene with us.
I did not know that.
And Terry, I think, was involved. It was us three, a scene with us three.
Jerome Lamar is everywhere.
Yeah, so cool. But Love at First Night was presented to me. It was actually kind of random because I didn't know about any, like, I didn't know that they were casting and stuff like that. I ran into, if I remember correctly, Sean in like Chelsea somewhere. We ran into each other at one point, and I was like, I had stopped him to say hi because I was like, I know who you are from, no shade, you know. So like, everyone knows Sean and Terry, especially the Black gay community. And I stopped him to say hi, and we were just like chit chatting, and he was like, I'm actually working on something, and I think I want you to be a part of it. Like, would you be open to auditioning for this role? And I was like, of course, absolutely. And at that time, I was doing like acting stuff for my friends Brandon and Danye. Oh yeah, because they have the Each Other project, and they were working on some web series themselves. Yeah. And so I would like fill in and help out whenever they needed like someone, a character or something. And so I was like, okay, yeah, I'm a little familiar, so I'm like, you know, I'll do it. And I went to the audition, and I saw Terry there, and I was just like, oh my God, I live for y'all. Like, this is really nerve-wracking. And I auditioned, and they was just kind of like the role is literally you. So it was I think it was another person. They wanted another friend of theirs, but he was just like, no, it's okay. Like Chris, like, is eating it up. So yeah, that's how it kind of came about. It was kind of, it fell on my lap. Like, I'm really blessed. It fell on my lap.
Because it was like...
And I'm so blessed that it did.
Would you say that you could, like, there are parts of you that are similar to Alex, or are you really different? Because there were some things I would see on that show, and I was like, whoo, I do not know him to be like that.
Yeah.
But maybe those are, Scorpios, y'all be... yeah, Scorpios.
Yes. But Alex, it's funny because a lot of people really thought, like, yes, I drew a lot of inspiration from myself, but also a lot of my peers and acquaintances and, you know, all the butch queens that I've come across, because Alex was like the epitome of a butch queen in New York City. So I was just like drawing a lot of inspiration from myself and a lot of my peers and acquaintances. And a lot of people they were like, wait, are you really playing? You're playing yourself. So like there were people who actually thought that I was rude and like kind of shady. I'm like, oh my God, no, I'm acting. Like I'm playing a character. But there were some people that were like, oh my God, I feel like I see you. Like it's so funny. I blended a little bit of myself and a lot of the people that I know. And where we differ is like, you know, Alex was inspiring to me because Alex was very fearless and just bold and risky and just like kind of a carefree attitude. And I feel like at that time, it really came to me at a great time because that moment in my life, I was starting to I was in a transitional period. If I remember correctly, I think my mom passed away before I filmed Love of I had just came out of a relationship, I think, and my mom passed away at the same time, my biological mom.
Oh wow.
So I think it was right before that. So I was just healing from those things, and I felt like my life was changing, and I was kind of going in the closet, like going in a little bit because I was like shutting down because I just feel like my life was changing. A lot of things were happening at once that I wasn't understanding. I was like, I need to get a grip. And then I feel like playing Alex, someone who is so fearless and just such a go-getter, even if it's the worst thing, like he just go after it, you know. He was just very carefree, very raw. And in a way, that's who I wanted to be. I wanted to like be like, instead of hiding in my feelings and like the things that were going on and just kind of like sitting back, I was like, no, like I wanted to stand up against the odds and like my circumstance, like challenges. And so playing Alex was really fun, and I feel like it did like in a way help me to kind of voice those things because like I said before, like acting was something that I felt like I wanted to do because I have a lot of feelings, and it's a lot of feelings and thoughts and things that I just keep to myself. I don't necessarily show to the world. So through acting, I'm able to release those things, and through my writing and stuff. So I was like, this is the perfect time to like really know, like, be a bad bitch, be a boss bitch, be risky, be fun, be up, like, be a go-getter.
And
be shady.
What was the outcome for you in terms of like being a part of that show? Because the viewership was insane.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just curious. Like, you said that people thought that you were the character. Were there any like weird interactions you would have from being on that show, or?
I didn't get that as much as Ramad and Kyle.
Really?
They got it more.
Okay.
I didn't. People just really thought I was shady. Like that was it. They thought I was a shady person. And I'm just like, no, like that's not really hard. Yeah, I have shady moments. I'm a Scorpio, hello, I'm petty. But I didn't really get that as much. Not as much as they did. They got some weird shit. But for me, and it's crazy because people still remember the show and recognize me. So I was just a couple months ago, like the beginning of spring, I think, or like the middle of spring, I was going to like, I was going somewhere and someone stopped me. Mind you, I had sunglasses on, a hat and everything. And I was just like, and I feel like I look a little different from first of all, I had long hair too. When I was playing Alex, I had, my hair was growing out. And he was like, oh my God, I love your show. I loved you on Love at First Night. And I was like, oh my God, like people still remember. Like it's really cool. And even being stopped from my poetry book too is really, I'm honored. I'm always, that is really like, wow, you really do know, like you know of my work. But with Love at First Night, people to this day still like, acknowledge it, and they're like, oh my God, I love this show. It's one of the best shows. It was such a blessing to be a part of it.
Because during that time, there weren't that many like content creators creating shows like that. And so, you know, and also you like have to remember that like there are people who are constantly being reintroduced to it in different ways. I do remember that, you know, you did an interview and in the interview you was talking about like, this is random, but I know that this was during the time or a little bit after you finished filming. You talked about like your sexual positions. And I was like, okay,
I already know where this is going.
And so, like, I remember when I was watching this interview, and I was looking at the timestamp. I was like, It's 5 years, and you said in the interview that you like probably might transition to being a top 5 years from now. And now in 5 years, I'm like, has that transition?
I know. Yes,
it has.
Yes, but and I would, because listen, and there's no shade because like most of my relationships, I've always felt versed, but in a lot of I'm very adaptable when it comes to sexuality, and just sexual preferences, in the bedroom, but a lot of my relationships were with tops and just strict tops, and I guess sure, you know how these times be like, oh, you thick and you little, I just want like you're gonna bottom, so I didn't really care. So most of my relationships I was bottoming, but like I'm tired of that shit, and I was.
So you actually did transition?
Yeah, well, I'm with a partner now that I do believe. Like, and I also started realizing this during my time that I was abstinent. I realized that I don't necessarily need penetration to feel love and to feel that my sexual desires and my intimacy desires are being fulfilled. And so I'm thankful that I'm with a partner that finally that understands that, that understands that we don't always need penetration. Because the thing is, for like a long time, there's this term
side.
Side.
Are you a side?
That's how I felt for a long time. I was like, oh my god, maybe I learned it from another friend, because me and my friends would talk about these things. Like, I'm very candid with with my life to an extent, I guess, but I'm very open with my friends and stuff. So we had this conversation. We were talking about dating and sexual, and I was just like, I feel like I what I want sexually is changing, and I feel like it doesn't fit in with the people that I attract. And everything, we're at a time where everything is just about having the fattest ass, the biggest dick, and like body, like like. And I was just like, I feel like I'm somewhere in between all those things. Like, I don't necessarily care for any of those things, but like, and I don't feel that I need to be either bottoming or topping to feel like that is being fulfilled, that desire. And so I'm really thankful and happy that I'm with a partner that we see eye to eye on that, and we value that, and that intimacy is more than just penetration, so, but I will say I'm definitely out of my bottom era. Wow. Yes. Like,
that is so funny.
I kind of manifested that. Listen, because and the guys that I was attracting, like it's it's like, bitch, I've really got to prep. It was just, I'm lazy. To be honest, I'm just lazy. Like, I'm lazy when it comes to that. I was just like, oh, I just want to be a little bit more spontaneous. Because it depends on the person. It depends on the package, the size, with the amount of preparation.
Oh, yeah.
You want to make sure you're good.
Yeah, because sometimes you might be just going down a very long boat.
Okay, exactly. And it's just, I got tired of that. I was just like, this. I'm not completely opposed to it, but like, I was just like, no, I can't anymore. I just can't. I'm tired. I'm like over this. I don't care to do it. Like, that doesn't fulfill me all the time.
I'm glad you found like a partner who like fits into your needs. How did you guys meet then? That's so beautiful.
Yeah, so we've been dating they're amazing. We've been dating for a year and a couple months now, and we met through social media. And from the first date, we just I really felt like I met my soulmate, because from the first day we just kept dating. We just kind of dated from the very first day. We went on a breakfast date, spent the whole day together. Ended up spending the whole day from like, we met around like 1 p.m. and then till 1 a.m.
Oh wow!
Like,
wow!
Just doing things like, and it was just natural and it was fun, and we just kind of. It really hit off.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
it's like you're in your own little world. Do you ever like go out then? Like,
well, I've slowed down a lot.
Yeah, I'm still like in your cocoon.
Yeah, but it was even before dating, because after my relationship, like after Love at First Night, I feel like I needed to take a moment to really. There was a lot of change happening, and I feel like I needed to take a moment to sit back a little bit and kind of process everything that's going on in my life. And I'm someone that I become more reserved, and I go like in my cocoon before. Like I don't like to just live out my issues and stuff like out in the world. I like to like take care of my things in private, and that's where the privacy comes from. Like I really like to, I do those things in private. So I guess that's why, in a way, to a lot of people, I look like, you know, the complete opposite of what I feel sometimes, because I deal with those things on my own. I don't really let people in when I'm having those moments. So I was abstinent and single for 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that's when I really started to kind of slow down. I stopped. And I also, and it's not that like I was just removing myself from the world, but like there was a lot of things that I was outgrowing. I didn't care to go out and be getting drunk all the time, making out with people, like with strangers and things. Like I outgrew that. I was outgrowing that. And when I go out, I wanted to go out with my friends with an intention to have a good time with my friends, rather than going out like just to, like, you know, if I meet somebody or hook up or something. Like I didn't care for that anymore, and I just felt like everything was becoming the same. Like especially, you know, and in a lot of the Black queer spaces that we feel at home and that we want to go to, it's just started to feel redundant. Everything like you see the same people doing the same things, and it's just the energy is the same, and it's just kind of like, I'm kind of over this. I'm gonna just come out when I feel like need to or want to, or like my friends are gonna pull me out to have a good time. So I really just went in and I started doing a lot of inner work on my own, and I just after Love at First Night is when, and it was like during that moment, and that's why I'm so thankful to Love at First Night, because it was pushing me out there, because I needed to be out there. And it's like, I'm quiet about my art. I'm quiet about my talent. I feel like I play small when it comes to, I dim my own brilliance. And I know that that's something I'm working through, and I'm aware of that. And so,
I'm always telling you, you gotta just
every time we bump into each other and we're having conversation, we're in the same space, that's always a conversation that we have. You're like,
just do it.
Amazing.
You are
Like,
amazing.
you know, so I'm someone that kind of, and this is why I'm blessed to be, I'm thankful to be blessed with the people in my life, because they really push me. And not that that's their responsibility, it's my own. And so that's why I took that time to really try to find that self-love within myself. The love, the expectations, the acknowledgement that I was expecting from partners and friends in the outside world. I was like, no, bitch, you need to go inside and find that within yourself first. So throughout that time, I was really doing a lot of inner work and trying to cultivate that self-love and that confidence and that just that faith and belief in myself. So so that's why I kind of I've slowed down. And it's funny because when I do go out, people are like, bitch, I haven't seen you in so long.
But
like,
that's the thing though. I don't like, I feel like every time I see you, like, it's always an intentional space. It's like, I never really ran into a bar or club. Like, are you like, did you ever like do the teen bashes? Did you do the
teen bashes? No, but like it was in my 20s that I went out a lot, because I wasn't out when I was like a teenager, so I didn't really do those things or know of those things until like much like HMI and like the center and all that stuff. I learned about those places as an adult.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I didn't know, because I was like in the closet.
Your girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly. So it wasn't until my 20s, and then I was out in all those places. But the thing is that I was out. My social life was really running my life, and then and I don't say that in a bad way. Like I had my run, like my social life really lived its moment, and that's why now I'm just kind of like, I don't feel like I'm missing out when I don't go out. I don't feel like, where in the past when I was younger, I was like, I needed to be outside to make connections, because that's how I got a lot of the gigs that I got. It was just meeting people, you know, and people were like, oh my God, I really fuck with you. You're cool. Hey, I have a project that I'm working on. And that's how I got a lot of, and that the experience that I have. It was through peers and a lot of my friends that are still in my circle and in my life. But yeah, my social life was popping and it was great. And I don't regret a thing. But like, and I'm not saying that now. It's like, oh my God, I'm like an old man and I'm in a relationship and that's it. I'm married and cut off. Like,
oh my God.
No, it's not. Yeah, it was just during that time that I really needed to. I didn't care to be out and seen and like be forming the wrong connections and be hooking up with people. I was trying to find all those things within myself.
Yeah, I mean, we're all always a work in progress, and I feel like I've noticed that you've always been that way.
Yeah.
And so I admire that about you. I don't know. It's so interesting to like hear your side of things. We're always in like different universes.
Yeah.
Just witnessing things differently. But I also remember like you used to like run this blog. And that was a thing that you were working on.
Yeah.
And then, now you're at a point where you've written a poetry book that's like full of your poetry. It's full of your artwork. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I published my first poetry book, How Water Sparkles in the Sun. Mm-hmm. And
that is so you, and it's so beautifully sound.
I love that. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Mm-hmm. I know the title actually, it gags people. They're like, wait, that sounds so beautiful and poetic, because the title actually came from a poem that I scrapped, and but there was something about that line that really stood out to me. And the book was actually in the works for years before because again, I have an inner saboteur that's just, I'm fearful, and it's just kind of like, oh, like, you won't be able to sustain this, or like, it's not going to be good. And so I was dealing with a lot of that. Mm-hmm. And so the book was created like probably a couple years before it came out. And then I was just finally, one day I had a dream that I died. And I have really dark dreams sometimes. It wasn't as intense as it sounds, but like, because I be thinking about these things sometimes, and that's what pushes me to like release things. So I was like, bitch, if you die tomorrow, no one would know about this. Mm-hmm. So release that shit today, right now. So I think that way sometimes. It's really dark. But I had a dream that I died, and that I had a regret of not releasing the book, and how no one knows me, and like the impact that and I was just going down that, and I was just, oh my God, no one would know who I am, and like, what mark would I have left in the world, So I was just like, at least let me release that, and like, it can do something. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I started the book because I realized there was a lot of shit that I needed to let go of. And the book, in a way, was a cathartic healing journey for me. And so I finally released it, and I was just like, I have to let these feelings go, because the book is about self-love, relationships, a lot of, it's in a way a self-help type of poetry book, because my writing is very prose, so I just like write what I'm feeling. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted it was a healing thing for me. It was my way of letting go of the shit that I was holding on to, the negative self-talk, and just like my past, and just even growing up as a foster child, like just letting all those things go and starting new. Mm-hmm. And and it was very well received, and like, I'm so happy that I did that, because it really kind of catapulted the rest of like my confidence too. I was like, okay, I can do this. I'm not some imposter. Like, I am an artist. I'm an artist in many different ways, and it felt great to just really let that shit go.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I usually say is that like because once again, of course, it's important for you to, like, I don't want to dismiss any of the feelings that you have, but like, from where I stand, like, I find you beautiful, I find you smart, I find you like so many of the great things, and so like, to hear you say that is just wild. And then one thing that I usually the way how I go about life is that like, there are moments where I felt like I might have felt insecure or not as confident, and I always just say to myself, like, I want to not look back at that moment and say I wish I was more confident. And I want to like always, I feel like life is too short to be feeling insecure. And I feel like those are the workings of the devil. That's the working of like the enemy. And we don't want the enemy to win,
Yes.
Like
that's what I love about you, and that's what's so inspiring about you.
Thank you. And so for me, it's just like I said, growing up, I would always hear you use like these big ass words. Yeah. And I would be getting an education from you, because I'm like, what the hell does that mean? So like, it makes sense for you to be able to be a writer. Yeah. And for you to like, so is there like a specific thing that you're like focusing on? Like, is it like, do you like acting more than writing, or is like what is your, I mean, because I understand we're all nuanced and multifaceted, but I am curious if you might have a favorite.
I think out of all, And the thing is that each, I guess, talent, as you know, as you will, is had its moment in my life, and it served its purpose in my life, because I naturally dancing and acting was my background. Like, but I think at the moment, like writing,
Really?
yeah, because I hold in so much. There's a lot that I feel, and it makes sense that you view me this way, and you're like, wait, that's so surprising, because I keep it all to myself. I deal with those things on my own, in my own solitude, and writing gives me the opportunity to do that, to reflect, to pinpoint, to let go, and release. Yeah, like writing is my release.
And along in conjunction with your painting.
Yeah. Because How Water Sparkles in the Sun is a mixture of my poems, actual journal entries that I've had, that I wrote down in my journal, and photography. Things that because I love photography as well. Like, I love all these art forms and mediums, and not like I'm some professional photographer, because a lot of those pictures were on my my iPhone camera, and some of them are on a Google phone. And people are like, wow, that's actually it looks good, it looks cool. And I've always been a visual artist, so like visual, like having a lot of the pictures are connected to the poems. The ones that they might not have, they weren't written at the same time, but they are connected by what's going on in the photo, and then what I have written. So I paired the poems. That was very intentionally paired. And I'm a visual person. Like, I'm moved by music videos, by films, by color, I'm moved by a lot by art. So
any particular inspirations you might have, or
not that I can recall like right now, but like I'm inspired by a lot of things, and especially music too. Music is like, that's the one thing that I'm most inspired by, that I haven't like delved into, which is I almost had an opportunity. There was an artist who wanted to feature me, actually two, who wanted to feature me doing spoken word on their album, on their track. So I was like, oh my god, this is really cool. It's kind of like going there, because music is the most inspiring thing to me, and what inspires a lot of my artistry. But yeah, How Water Sparkles in the Sun was inspired by a lot of my feelings, and like pictures and photography in the streets of New York. So because a lot of the photos are like things of the sky and stuff, and it was my way of letting that go.
So like now, like letting all of that go, and maybe like this can be something that could be shared with like people who are now entering that era where you might have once been, that you are stepping away from, or just you looking back at that person you once was. Like, what would you tell that person now that you've stepped away from that person, or evolved from that person?
Well, I will say, I feel like in a way, actually, no, yeah, I'm gonna actually take that back. I was gonna say I am that person still, but I'm not, because mentally I'm in a very different place. It might feel like physically I'm in that place still, but I'm not, and I'm not gonna downplay the growth, the mental and emotional growth and spiritual growth that I've experienced.
Well, it's just more or less like, of course, like I totally understand the idea of you still being connected to that person, but there has been like an education, an understanding, a growth, an evolution to who you were then because of the letting go. So I'm just curious in terms of what you would have said now that you stepped away from that, because you've grown and learned.
I think one thing is, I wish I would have, like, if I can go back and tell that person, was like, don't wait. Don't wait, and just take the risk. Take the risk, as scary as it is. Like, don't let the fear paralyze you, because that's something that I deal with, I struggle with a lot.
No more waiting.
No more waiting. Yes, no more waiting.
That makes me so happy.
Don't wait. take the risk, jump, literally just jump. You're gonna be fine. As scary as it is, jump off the cliff. Something is gonna be there to catch you.
See some more of the Bronx if you wanted to.
Okay.
Because that was something
you never know. Exactly. Bump into something. I might fall. Another opportunity might fall into my lap. But yeah, I wish that, and that's something that I am embracing now too. As you know, being in my 30s, my mid 30s, actually, yeah,
that is wild.
Is I don't have the time. You know, it's like, well, I do.
You do.
I do, but what I mean is that I'm using the time as a crutch to delay. And procrastinate because it's coming out of fear. Yes, you know, and it's coming out of fear. The time that I have, that I'm allowing myself to have, is coming out of fear more than like, oh, I actually do need more time on this. You know, it's mostly coming out of like, oh, I'm scared to release this. Like, you know, it doesn't feel ready. It doesn't feel polished. It doesn't feel professional enough. Like, I need to like put everything together in a pretty package, and it's like sometimes it's like no, things can't be in a pretty package yet. You just let it. It's gonna align itself, you know.
And I mean, like for example,
I'm a perfectionist, so I struggle with that too.
I mean, I totally get that. I have Virgo on my chart, and you know how the whole Virgo thing is. Yeah. No, you're a Scorpio, November 13th.
Yeah.
I actually had someone on this show who had the same birthday as you, Eddie Asante, Young Fleur. And so it's nice to be sitting with companies of Scorpios. Yeah. But you know, what I usually say is just like get on. I mean, you said you like to get your hands messy. Get messy.
Yeah.
Because for me, like a lot of things I don't know.
That's a good way to see it.
And like I'm gonna get messy. I'm gonna ask all the dumb questions. I'm gonna figure it out. So then I get it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us, we just sit around silent and then we never know.
Yeah, that was me.
And like it's just like you are just so amazing. Like full rounded person. Like, just go.
From your lips to my heart.
Of course. So your family always. Yes.
Yeah.
So I have 2 more questions.
Yeah.
So the one of my final questions I usually ask the guest is, what does expansion look like for you?
Continue being up to date with all things peace by following the links attached to this episode. Thank you for tuning in. Now let's wrap up the show.
I'm in that. And right now, expansion to me at this moment is allowing my artistry to be what it wants to be. I thought that I had to, you know, pick a certain thing, pick a lane, do this, do that. And right now I'm at the moment where I feel like my spirit is tied to painting. And so my expansion now has been, allowing my spirit to move through, because my spirit and my healing and alignment, all of that is moved by art for me. I'm a creative spirit. So right now I'm allowing the expansion to happen however it is. Like I quit my job that I had for 5 years to allow the expansion to happen. And so I kind of quit taking a leap of faith. I didn't have anything lined up. And I was just like, I just felt it in my spirit. I needed to make room for new blessings. I needed to make space for something that is coming, and I feel it, but and normally I'm just like, no, but I need money, and I need structure. I need stability. And it's like, the stability will find me. And so now I'm actually feeling, expansion to me feels like being a wild, like flower in the wind. Like that's what it feels like to me, and that's what it is giving now, and that's what I am. I'm like a petal floating in the wind right now, and I'm just going here, going there, and like, you know, and everywhere, wherever it's taking me, it's for my evolution, you know. Like we're constantly evolving, and you know, like that's been my life work since I like, you know, had consciousness. I feel like since I was a little kid. Like it's weird how I look back and I was like, how was I so fucking wise at fucking 5 years old to think and be like, I need to change my life, I need to stop fighting, or like doing this, and like, you know, and have the faith and just the belief. It was really interesting, and it's beyond me. But my expansion right now, that's literally what it feels like, and that's what it means to me, allowing myself to be free, to be wild, because I'm normally put together, packaged, curated, and I'm like, no, bitch, be wild.
Live your life.
Yes, live your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so that's what I'm doing now. Right now, it's showing itself in my art. I'm painting, and I have a published poetry book. So right now, what I'm focusing on is I'm working on another book actually that's coming in the works. My second poetry book, and this one is, the working title is like with love, all the things I wish I said out loud. So that's the working title at the moment. And right now I'm just painting, and I'm actually establishing myself as an artist and selling my art, being blessed by people who want to adorn their homes and their offices and their spaces, their sanctuary, their sanctuary with my art, things that just flow out of me. As corny as it sounds, a lot of my art is like that. It's movement, it's spiritual and emotional movement just flowing through me.
I mean, like I said before, like I've looked to you in so many different ways as like an amazing person. I'm sure there are a lot of people who like use you as an example of inspiration. So continue to work on that and be this like amazing human being that you are.
And it's always been love with you since day one. And I will say I'm extremely thankful for you, because every time I do see you, it's nothing but light, and you're such a reminder to me to like let go and be wild, be free. Like you're constantly reminding me of my powers,
because you have them.
Yeah, and you're constantly reminding me of that, and then I'm very thankful to have you as a friend and to have you in my life and to have the connection that we have. I'm very thankful for it.
I feel the same.
Yeah.
Mr. Almanzaar. So my final question to you is, how are you producing peace?
Yes. Before it was just, excluding myself from the world and people and just being in my solitude. But now it's, especially being in a relationship, I'm learning that I can create peace wherever I'm at. And it, for me, is I don't have to be alone. I don't have to be in my solitude. I don't have to, because why am I waiting, to create that? So now it's just, I'm still like learning and exploring that and figuring that out. But at the moment, like, peace has been coming to me through the people that are in my life. Honestly, they are, when I'm feeling like scrambled or stressed out, I'm blessed to have people to remind me, like, Chris, calm the fuck down. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna be good. And so for me, wherever I'm at, I'm just having that dialogue of having faith. So really just having faith and not stressing myself and worrying is creating peace for myself. So yeah, I would say the people that are in my life, I'm thankful to that they contribute to that. And also my own work is really allowing faith to move.
Yeah, that's something that I've been relying on too, is the faith to like keep you going. Yeah,
because that's, I'm always thinking I need stability. I'm constantly thinking like I have to know what's going to be next. Or I have to know how this is going to tie up. Like how is it going to be packaged? Whereas now I'm just like, and it actually has been great. Like, and it's funny because when I came in, he was like, yes, you're looking, peaceful and stuff. I'm like, whew, it's been this past summer this summer has been extremely transformative, and it's gagged me multiple times, and I'm now in a place where like I'm like, bitch, I need that peace, and it's like I'm gonna carry it whatever. So
what was if you don't mind me asking, what was like a gaggable moment this summer for you?
Well, for me, it was leaving my job, and then like, realizing like, okay, how am I going to support myself financially? That is one of the biggest things, because I'm someone that needs, I appreciate stability. That makes me feel comfortable. So this whole summer, I've been out of my comfort zone, from quitting my job on a whim, and putting my artwork out, selling my artwork through my social media, when I was working on a website, and I was like, bitch, I don't got the money to pay for this. What am I gonna do? And people are like, use your resources, you know. So I've been out of my comfort zone this entire summer, almost being afraid of losing my apartment, like. And I feel like that's my sanctuary. So I was like, this can't leave me right now. Like, I have to figure this out. That alone has just had me really, it's been a roller coaster. But I'm now coming out on the other side and just knowing that I am fine. It's evident to me that I'm gonna be fine.
You've always been fine.
Yeah, I've figured it out.
Be fine again?
Yeah, yeah. It's just trusting my own instinct and trusting in my own talent and my work.
Alrighty. Well, I guess we'll end on that note. I would love for the people to get to keep up, like learn more about you. Would you share where they can reach you and your work and your socials?
So you can find me on Instagram, which is where I promote most of my my book and my art pieces. It's Chip Almanzaar, so that's CHIP, like potato chip, chocolate chip, and then Almanzaar, ALMANZAR. And you can find the link there to my poetry book, to my art that I am selling now, which is really exciting. And that's where you pretty much see a lot of my future projects being announced, because I'm not a TikTok person yet. I'm learning.
I'm sure. I mean,
and working on a website, so everything is in one place. But right now, Instagram is my form of connecting with me the most.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. Like, this is amazing. I'm thankful to have this to really allow my art to be and be able to share and expand more.
Let more people know.
Yeah.